Continuing our advice to you, brothers and sisters, with chapter and verse. You have to have chapter and verse in order to understand the Bible truly. Now, I'm at Psalms 119:18. It reads, "Open thou mine eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of thy law." See, brothers and sisters, before you can understand the law, you have to have your eyes open. 90% of Christianity, no, 99.9% of Christianity eyes are closed because they're under a system. In order to understand the law, your eyes have to be open. So let me open your eyes to this. This is the book of Esther, chapter 10, verse 3. "For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews." So Mordecai was the Jew, and he was great among Jews. Mordecai was a Jew, and he was great among Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren. So the Jews were brethren. The Jews were not brethren to the Medes. They were brethren to themselves, seeking the wealth of his people and speaking peace unto all his seed. So look at that. We can see right away that his brethren is his people, is his seed. Isn't that something? Blacks are brethren to blacks, whites are brethren to whites, Chinese are brethren to Chinese. That's the way it is. That's the reality. So we're going to see this again. The book of Romans chapter 9, verse 3. "For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites." See? Just like Mordecai's brethren was his own people, Paul's brethren is his own people. Paul's brethren is his own people. So every time you see the word brethren in a verse, he's talking to his own people. And again, we go to John. John chapter 8. Verse 31, watch this. John chapter 8, verse 31. "Then said the Messiah to those Jews which believed on him," not everybody, the Jews that believed on him, "If ye continue in my word, then ye are my disciples indeed." So the disciples were Jews. They were Jews. They were Jews. You can see it. Proof text. Christians tell you the disciples were anybody. No. The disciples were Jews. So when I go to Acts 18, brothers and sisters, Acts 18, verse 23, real quick. Acts 18, 23. Let me get there. "And after he is Paul, had spent some time there, he departed and went over all the country of Galatia, and Phrygia in order, strengthening all the disciples." Who are these disciples? The Jews in Galatia. So Jews were in Galatia. Jews were in Galatia. That's why, pay attention now. When we go to the book of Galatians, see, I'm showing you something Christianity, they hide it. Galatians chapter 3, verse 15. Now, we're Galatians 3:15. Look at the first word in this verse, brethren. But the book title is Galatians. The book title is Galatians, but Paul says brethren. So who are these brethren he's addressing? The Jews in Galatia. These Caucasian idiots know that. They just try to fool the simple. They know that these are the Jews in Galatia Paul is writing to. They know this. They should. No way. It's just that you have to go that extra step for you to understand it, for I to understand it. Brethren are the Jews in Galatia. So what is he telling these Jews in Galatia in this letter? What is he telling his brethren? Because I want to go to Galatians 3:23. Now he's talking to his brethren in Galatia. But before faith came, we. Who is the we that were kept under the law? Because the Christians are confused. You pork chop eating Christians that are quoting this verse, you're quoting it 100% wrong if you think the Gentile was included in being under the law. He was not. Paul is not talking to everybody. We got to focus on this verse. But before faith came, he's talking to his brethren in Galatia, were kept under the law. We were kept under the law. We were kept under the law. Now, for confirmation, who was under the law? The book of 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 9. We're going to show you exactly who was under the law. And you're not going to see the nations. 1 Corinthians 9:20. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law. There you go. That's who's under the law, Jews. All nations were not under the law. You Christians, you're fake. You're fake. You think you could just pass over verses and, we're not going to pay attention? Religion of death, brothers and sisters. Paul, unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. The only ones that were under the law were Jews by themselves, alone. Easy to understand, right? So when I go back to Galatians, now remember, Paul's writing to his brethren in Galatia. They were Jews in Galatia. Galatians chapter 3. Verse 23, but before faith came, we, the Jews alone, not the nations, were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Here's the thing. Wherefore the law was the Jews. The law was the Jews' schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, not all nations. Yes, sir. All nations were not brought unto Christ. The only ones that are brought unto Christ was who was under the law. The only one that had the schoolmaster were the Jews. You Christians, they'll quote this in the Christian church and you'll get the foolish looking up at them. But we got the extra for you. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we, not the nations, might be justified by faith. The only ones that were under the law were the Jews. And they had to be revealed the faith afterwards. That's why wherefore the law was the law was not the nation's schoolmaster. The nations were never under the law. So if the nations were never under the law, how can they be brought unto Christ? We've been asking you this question. This book is a salvation for one people, man. Not everybody. It's how you read it. It's how they make it. But when you open your eyes and God show you the law, you can see. The law was never anybody's schoolmaster but the Jews. Paul is being specific, but they look over it. To bring the Jews unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. Not everybody. We. You can see the title Galatians. Just because you see the title Galatians, don't forget brethren. He's writing to the Jews in Galatia. And he has some good news for them. Yeah, wherefore the law was the Jews' schoolmaster. See, Paul is writing to his own brethren in different places. This is his brethren in Galatia. You got to understand, brothers and sisters, the nations are not included in this. They just don't see when you're ignorant and trying to proclaim the Bible. That's how this comes out. A lot of confusion. That's how.